Welcome to Raul Effect, where we uncover the hidden psychology behind avoidant attachment and help you build stronger, healthier, and more emotionally intelligent relationships. What if the biggest mistake you're making with an avoidant isn't what you're saying, but when you're saying it? One simple shift in timing can completely change how they respond to you. In this video, you'll discover why emotionally intelligent people never chase an avoidant and how mastering timing can turn distance into genuine connection. Avoidant people are often far more predictable than they appear. Like seasons that follow a familiar pattern, they move through recurring emotional cycles. Once you understand those patterns, their behavior becomes much easier to interpret. People who are emotionally secure and self-aware usually recognize these rhythms. Instead of reacting to every change, they know when to step closer and when to give space. That's one reason some relationships with avoidance remain peaceful and long-lasting, while others fall into endless cycles of frustration. One of the biggest secrets is timing. When you learn when to approach an avoidant instead of simply how to approach them, the entire relationship begins to change. The exhausting push and pull starts fading away and is replaced with a connection that feels calmer, more natural, and far less stressful. Conversations become easier. Emotional closeness develops without pressure, and disagreements are less likely to end with withdrawal because you're engaging at moments when they're emotionally prepared. Good timing does much more than reduce conflict. It changes the way the avoidant experiences the relationship. Instead of connecting your presence with pressure or emotional overload, they begin associating you with safety and comfort. Relationship conversations no longer feel threatening. Emotional closeness becomes something they welcome rather than something they instinctively avoid. Over time, they contribute more willingly because they no longer feel forced into interactions before they're ready. As this pattern continues, their genuine personality becomes more visible. Without constantly protecting themselves from emotional pressure, they're able to express more affection, show greater vulnerability, and invest more deeply in the relationship. Many people never see this side of an avoidant simply because they approach them at the wrong moments. When their need for emotional safety is respected, their natural ability to love often becomes much easier to recognize. Mastering timing also creates a sense of ease for both people. The avoidant no longer feels chased, while their partner no longer feels ignored. Conversations happen when both people are emotionally available, instead of when one person desperately needs reassurance. This creates positive experiences that strengthen trust, instead of repeating the familiar cycle of pursuit and distance. Even emotional conversations begin to feel different. Rather than resisting or becoming defensive, avoidants often participate willingly when discussions happen during their naturally open periods. They contribute their own thoughts, express feelings more honestly, and become active participants instead of simply reacting to pressure. Physical affection changes as well. Instead of one partner always reaching out while the other hesitates, affection begins to happen more naturally. The avoidant starts initiating closeness because it no longer feels like an obligation. Every positive interaction reinforces the belief that intimacy can be comfortable rather than overwhelming, creating a healthy cycle where trust and closeness continue to grow. Many people struggle because they approach avoidance according to their own emotional needs rather than the avoidant's emotional rhythm. They seek reassurance exactly when the avoidant needs solitude. When distance appears, they interpret it as rejection and respond by trying even harder to reconnect. Unfortunately, that usually produces the opposite result, causing even greater withdrawal. Another common mistake is choosing the worst possible moments for important conversations. Relationship concerns often come up when one partner feels disconnected, but that may be exactly when the avoidant is emotionally overloaded and trying to regulate themselves. Discussions started during these moments are more likely to trigger defensiveness than understanding, making future conversations even harder. People also overlook the subtle moments when avoidants naturally become more open. Those opportunities are often quiet and brief. Sometimes they're missed because the other person is distracted, while other times they're overwhelmed by an intense emotional response that unintentionally causes the avoidant to retreat again. Modern relationship advice can make this even harder. Many people believe healthy relationships require constant communication, regular emotional check-ins, and immediate resolution of every concern. While that may work for some attachment styles, avoidants often experience that level of constant emotional engagement as overwhelming. Their emotional availability tends to rise and fall naturally, and respecting those cycles usually creates stronger results than trying to force continuous closeness. Understanding these emotional rhythms changes everything. Avoidants generally move through repeating phases of connection: emotional overload, withdrawal, and gradual return. These patterns usually exist regardless of what their partner does. Instead of resisting them, successful partners learn to recognize and work with them. During receptive periods, avoidants often become more affectionate, more talkative, and more willing to discuss future plans or deeper emotions. These moments usually come after they've had enough personal space to feel emotionally balanced again. Recognizing these natural openings allows intimacy to grow without pressure. The more you learn to respect their emotional timing instead of fighting against it, the more effortless, stable, and deeply connected the relationship can become. Avoidants don't always pull away because of something their partner did. More often, their distance comes from an internal fear of losing their independence or becoming emotionally overwhelmed. As that anxiety builds, they may become quieter, more critical, or emotionally unavailable. It isn't always rejection. It's often their way of trying to regain a sense of balance and personal space. The next stage is withdrawal. During this period, they naturally create emotional or physical distance to calm their nervous system. They may spend more time on work, hobbies, or personal interests, communicate less, or simply seem emotionally harder to reach. When you understand this as part of their self-regulation instead of taking it personally, you're far less likely to react in ways that prolong the cycle. Eventually comes the return. After they've had enough time to reconnect with themselves, they often begin missing the relationship and slowly move back toward closeness. They become warmer, more engaged, and naturally interested in reconnecting. These moments are often the best opportunities for meaningful conversations because the desire for connection is coming from them rather than being pushed by someone else. Timing is especially important when discussing emotions, relationship concerns, or future plans. Bringing up sensitive topics while an avoidant is emotionally overloaded almost always creates resistance. Waiting until they're naturally open and relaxed can completely change the outcome. The best conversations usually happen when they feel emotionally secure but haven't yet reached the point of feeling overwhelmed by intimacy. The environment matters too. Calm, private settings help them feel safe enough to open up. Beginning with appreciation, warmth, or positive connection before discussing difficult topics helps keep them emotionally engaged. Give them room to think before answering. Silence isn't always avoidance. It can simply be how they process emotions. Knowing when to pause is just as valuable as knowing when to speak. If you notice defensiveness, irritation, or emotional shutdown, forcing the conversation usually makes things worse. Respectfully suggesting a break and returning later often produces far better results. That simple act communicates respect instead of pressure. The timing of your responses also influences the relationship. Avoidants can feel overwhelmed by immediate, emotionally intense reactions. If they share something personal, responding with calm appreciation instead of overwhelming excitement helps them feel emotionally safe. A balanced response tells them they can continue opening up without losing control of the situation. Physical affection follows similar patterns. During periods of withdrawal, too much closeness may feel intrusive. But during receptive moments, gentle affection strengthens trust and reinforces positive emotional experiences. Learning when affection is welcomed is often more important than the affection itself. Communication rhythms matter as well. If an avoidant naturally takes time to reply, constantly expecting immediate responses creates unnecessary pressure. Matching their communication pace allows interactions to feel comfortable rather than demanding. Many avoidants are also more talkative during certain times or after they've had space to recharge. Recognizing these natural windows makes connection much easier. Avoidants usually offer small signs when they're emotionally available. They may share something personal without being asked, become more curious about your thoughts, suggest spending time together, or simply appear more engaged than usual. These opportunities can be brief, so recognizing and responding to them without overwhelming them is essential. The period after conflict is another valuable opportunity. While they usually need time to process an argument, they often return with a greater willingness to repair the relationship. Those moments can lead to honest conversations, expressions of appreciation, and healthier ways of handling future disagreements. Times of personal success also create openings. After accomplishing something meaningful at work or in their personal life, avoidants are often more confident, emotionally open, and willing to share their experiences. Celebrating those moments together strengthens connection in a natural way. Even stressful periods can create unexpected opportunities. When life feels overwhelming, offering quiet support without expecting immediate emotional closeness often reaches them more deeply than constant reassurance. Feeling supported without pressure helps build lasting trust. Making requests also requires good timing. Asking for more closeness during withdrawal usually feels like another demand. The same request made during a receptive period often feels like a shared opportunity to strengthen the relationship. Start with appreciation before expressing your needs, and explain how your request benefits both of you instead of focusing only on what's missing. Boundaries are more effective when discussed during calm moments rather than heated arguments. In peaceful conversations, boundaries feel like healthy relationship agreements instead of punishments. If a boundary is crossed, addressing it later with a clear, steady approach is usually far more productive than reacting emotionally in the moment. Learning to recognize an avoidant's emotional availability becomes easier with experience. Relaxed body language, comfortable eye contact, genuine curiosity, and a more engaged presence often signal openness. During withdrawal, they may appear distracted, physically tense, emotionally flat, or focused mainly on themselves. Their communication often becomes shorter and more practical, with less interest in emotional topics. When someone consistently respects these rhythms, the relationship gradually changes. The avoidant begins associating their partner with understanding instead of pressure. As trust grows, they're more willing to express their feelings, communicate their needs, and allow greater emotional closeness. That openness makes future interactions even easier because both people understand each other's patterns. Over time, their natural ability to love, commit, and build a future together becomes much easier to see. They become more affectionate, more willing to plan ahead, and more invested in the relationship because they no longer feel they must constantly protect themselves. Healthy timing doesn't require perfection. It requires patience, awareness, emotional maturity, and the willingness to value long-term connection over immediate reassurance. When you stop fighting an avoidance natural rhythm and learn to work with it instead, the relationship becomes calmer, stronger, and far more fulfilling for both people. It proves that avoidants can become deeply loving and committed partners when their emotional needs are understood, respected, and given the space they genuinely need. The secret to connecting with an avoidant isn't chasing harder, it's learning their emotional rhythm. When you respect their need for space while recognizing the right moments to connect, trust grows naturally. Master the art of timing, and you'll stop fighting the relationship and start building one that feels calm, secure, and deeply fulfilling. If this video gave you a new perspective on avoidant behavior, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Raul Effect, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us create more insightful content to help you build healthier, stronger relationships.